Hey team, welcome back to my channel. Hey guys, let me show you how to build this interactive US state quiz game from scratch using Python and Tkinter. You'll learn the essential programming techniques including image manipulations from PIL, random state selection, dynamic button generation, and game state management, all while creating a functional educational tool. I'll break down each component with highlighting map regions and scoring players' response. Whether you're looking to enhance your Python skills, understand the GUI development process, or add an impressive project to your portfolio, this tutorial delivers practical coding knowledge that you can use immediately. Let's dive in and build something together that's awesome. The source code for this project is available on my GitHub account. Go to github.com/software-nuggets. Look for the repository called Python Projects. Once you're in there, you'll see a folder called Name That State. And here's all the source code for this project. Download this locally and we can continue. Here is a list of files from my GitHub account. This project must use this actual file. The primary reason, the state boundaries.py file contains the actual border positions for each state. USA_states is a list, and throughout this program I use this list to show the name of the states, especially like on the buttons and any pop-up. In the third file, StateBoundaries.py, we have a list of states with their positions. Now what do I mean by position? Well, here we can see we have a list of values that have a X, Y coordinate system. Now this position linked together, and notice that the starting position and the ending position are the same value. Let me show you what that looks like. So for the state Alabama, notice that I have shown you the region of this map where position 476 starts right here in the corner, 280 down, I go around the state, and I finish back at the starting position. Let me show you one more. Notice in the state California, it's got quite a few, but once again, it must start at some value. Notice 51,126, and it ends in the same value, 51,126. Let's look at the map and see how this works. In this example, we have used California. Notice where it doesn't require a bunch of, zigzagging, I have very few dots. But when there's up and down and the coastline gets a little ragged, I had to put in more dots. Notice we begin at 5126 and we end in 5126. I think you got it now. Let's jump into the main program, namethatstate.py. So I'm this guy, Scott Johnson, and I make all the videos for Software Nuggets. I wrote it around this date, name that state. Now, I told you earlier, my source code is on GitHub, so you can go to this URL and get all the source code. Now we begin with making sure that we have Tkinter installed on our local computer. You may have to use PIP to install that. Now we also need another library, the Pillow library. That's where we're going to get all our images and being able to draw. Just a moment ago, I showed you about US states. We're going to import that. And then the state boundaries, we need to import that as well. So then on line 20, you can see here that we have a class called StateQuizApp. Well, at the very bottom of our program is how we initialize that. Now notice on line 189, we have to make sure that this variable has this value. And if it does, that means it's going to be running locally here. So then we're going to assign root to tk.tk. I'm going to make the screen size 900 by 700. And then look what I do here. I say app equals, this is the name of our class object. And I'm going to pass in root. So this will be our object. And then I'm going to use this root.main loop just to keep this program running until the user is all done. Let's now dive into the constructor. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this parameter and we're going to assign it to self.root. And then self.root title, that's where I'm going to get the title name. That'll be up on the bar here. Then our goal is to take that image, that USA underscore v1.png, and I'm going to say open image, and I'm going to assign that to this variable called original map image. Then notice here, I'm just going to make a copy of that. So this variable name dot copy into map image. Now it is possible that I didn't find this file. And if I didn't find it, you're going to get the error message, map image not found. Now, if you get that, we're going to say self, root, quit, and you're out of there. Now, if everything is good to now, we can keep going. Now, our goal now is to get that image up on our form correctly. And we got to make sure that it's in a Tkinter compatible format. Then you can see here, self.mapImage, got that on line 28. Going to run it through this function, and that's going to give us map photo. We're going to put a canvas on the form. It's the same image size as that, the width and the height. And then we're using pack to glue this to the canvas. Now, once we get the canvas on the form, then what we're going to do is we're going to map image on the canvas to equal at position 0, 0. We're going to anchor that to top left corner. And notice our image name is going to be map.photo. Got that on line 35. Now, once we get just the USA map on the form, then we're going to create a frame, and that's where we're going to pull our buttons. So I call this button frame. And notice that we're going to pad that to the Y at 12. Then I have a default font. I'm calling it self.button font. The size will be 14. The weight will be bold. Then here we just got some variables that will just load up, like right out of the gate. Then some scoring variables, and then we're going to say reset game. Now reset game pretty much goes through all of these local variables and set them up ready for us to run. Then we're going to add this one button, reset game, onto the form and add a little bit of padding to that. And that there is our constructor. You can see up in the constructor we have self.resetGame. Now that's this guy. Now what happens is once we start using the app, the map gets overwritten. I start putting in yellows, greens, and pink colors throughout there. And what this line on line 78 does is puts me back in a blank map. And then what we're going to do is we're going to free up these lists that we have and randomize list back to empty. And then I'm going to get a function called randomized states. Now randomized states is going to take that one file that we have as a import, and I'm going to take all those states and I'm going to put it into randomized list. I'm then going to shuffle that list of states. There's 50 states, and that will be in the randomized list object. Then I'm going to use the length function to get the number of states that are in this list, and that gets me number of states. That puts me back down here. We're going to initialize the first state as sub-0. Score to be 0, the total score to be 0, and then we're going to update the score display. Now remember, when I first set that, it just came up and it kind of said score 0, 0. So when we do the reset, I want to get back to this 0, 0. Now once I finish this right here, we're then going to remove all those buttons. Now when I say buttons, what does that mean? Well, that means those would be the state names that we get to choose from. So when we reset it, I want to remove all of those buttons. Doesn't matter what's previously there, want them all to go away. And then we're going to load up the next question. Let's take a look at that. So we're inside of next question, then we hit highlight state. Notice that I'm going to highlight yellow. So that means every time that you see the yellow color, you have to start guessing, and that's where we're going to also show you the options to choose from. Now what is highlight state? Well, the first thing we know is we have that file called the boundaries, and that's the dictionary of states where I have the XY coordinates. And I'm going to load that into boundary. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the self.mapImage and I'm going to put that into draw. I'm then going to draw that boundary, the outline black, the color fill will be coming from here. It'll be yellow. You can see that there. Now notice here where we have map image, I want that to be set to a Tkinter compatible format. It's over here in map photo. I'm then going to glue it to the canvas, and now we can see the highlighted state. It'll be yellow. Now that next line said generate the buttons, generate buttons. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to remove all the buttons. And then what I want to do is I want to go through the list of states. Remember, that's another import statement we had to do, and it gave us all 50 states. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to go get 3 states and make sure they do not equal the current state. So say I'm searching for Florida. I don't want Florida to be in this side. I only want, like California, South Carolina, and North Dakota. Then down here, I'm going to put in Florida. So our options would be those 3 random states plus our real answer. I'm then going to shuffle that. And then look here, I'm going to loop over that, and I'm going to build those buttons. Now, based on that button click, I'm going to go call check answer. So that's how that whole thing works, right? So now that we have our buttons on there, I've got my event that will fire if a user tries to click on a button, and that is how that works. We're now going to discuss the last function, check answer, line 170. Now remember, this right here is the event on the button. So what we're going to do is we're going to increment total questions. We are going to see if the selected state equals the current state. And if it does, guess what? That is a correct answer. I'm going to change that buttons to green. Now, if it is not the same, they're different, that means you got it wrong. So I'm going to do that pink. And we've already talked about what highlight state does. Then I'm going to update the score display. And then I'm going to wait 100 milliseconds, and then I'm going to move to the next question. And pretty much that's the way the app works. I'm going to do a few states so you can see the way the app will run. Hope you enjoyed this. So the app just came up. Now if you look real closely, it highlighted this little yellow over here, and now it's asking me which of these states is the correct answer. And we know that is Rhode Island. Then once again, we're looking for yellow. Yellow means guess. Now this right here we know is Montana. And then we know over Louisiana would be Arkansas. Then this right here would be Iowa. I think you're getting it. And this would be Oregon. Now, can you learn? Yes. I have a daughter who's going to college. Use this, figured out all the states, figured out where they belong. You'll be able to do the same. Now, of course, if I get this wrong, we know that's Alaska, and I say, ooh, that looks like West Virginia. Notice that it goes pink. If I hit reset game, you know what that does? It removes all these and gives us a new map. Let's see what that looks like. So look at it, our score got reset. We got new buttons with different state names, and now it's saying, what is this one right here? I think you got it. Now, if you have any questions or comments about this program, please leave them below. And if you were able to learn a thing or two about this video, I sure would like to hear that you were able to do that and let other users know that this video has some merit to it. Look forward to seeing you back in my next video. Take care.